All right, so today I wanted to talk about this tweet from Zuby Music, and he says people who don't follow you know what guidelines should be denied medical treatment. And he says, I hope y'all have the same energy for smokers, drinkers, obese people. Dot dot dot. Oh wait, faint compassion everywhere. The mask always slips. And this is the point I brought up before, but again, I wanted to dive a little deeper into it. And this is the again, when it comes to the left, it's really just never-ending cognitive dissonance, and the reason why they always accuse the right of cognitive dissonance is just projection, right? This is the leftist playbook. Again, if you've ever read, Rules for Radicals, if you've ever spent any amount of time uh, following the Clintons and these kind of people, it's entirely just accuse other people of what you're guilty of. Again, they accused Trump of colluding with the Russians, even though it was actually them who were colluding with foreign governments, right? Again, they accuse these people. Oh, you don't care about the poor, right? Even though it's their policies that clearly create more poor people. It's you're selfish, and yet they're the ones that are supporting the billionaires getting richer, and the multimillionaires getting richer, and the all these kind of people, right? It is most of what they say. It's entirely just projection, and the reason why I think it's projection is that, and the difference between the right and the left, at least on average, because there's always exceptions, but on average, the right understands what the left believes and why they believe it, but the left doesn't, right? The left does, for the simple reason that the reason why the right doesn't want to give away unlimited free healthcare isn't because they hate poor people and they want them dead. It's because they know that we don't have unlimited amounts of money, right? To give something away in a theoretical unlimited fashion, which is what a socialist system wants to do, that would imply that we have unlimited resources to fund that, and we don't. So again, because we don't have unlimited resources to fund a theoretically unlimited healthcare system, it's entirely insane to suggest that we should have a socialist system. But the point here that he gets into is very good as well, because this is something that these people have resorted to, because this is another reason why they're wrong, because if they were right about the virus, they would be able to keep the debate cordial and to the point. They wouldn't have to bring up insane stuff like this. But even if they do want to bring up insane stuff like this, like I brought up before, that in Alberta, only 4% of people, or roughly 4% of people that died last year, were people that died with the virus. Now, that's everybody who died that happened to have the virus, right? The percentage of people that are actually dying just of the virus, according to the CDC in the States, is 6%. So again, Canada's numbers are probably a little bit different, but the CDC, that's a pretty big sample size, so I would assume it's pretty accurate. So 4% of Albertans dying had the virus, and of those, only about 6% of them are actually dying just because of the virus. So that is what, like 0.2% of Albertans that died last year died just of the virus. So you're expecting these people's argument is literally, let's completely uproot our society and the way we do our, in the way everybody lives their lives. And it's not just in a little way. Like, this is another reason why you know that these people are incredibly disingenuous, because when it started, it was, oh, just wear a mask, right? It's just a slight inconvenience. You just wear a mask. And people fought against that, and rightfully so, because anybody with half a brain knew that it would start with, oh, it's just a mask, to it would end up being, it's just, you're not allowed to leave your house. And if you do, we're going to throw you in jail. Like, that's pretty much where we are at in Quebec and Ontario right now, and in lots of other parts of the world. So, again, anybody with half a brain recognized that. But the main point here that they make is very simple. That again, their whole argument for these restrictions is, oh, we got to save lives, right? We got to save lives. But their concern has never been saving lives, right? These are the same people that have never. These are the same people that encourage people to be fat, healthy in every way. We know that one of the leading causes of dying from this is obesity, right? Obesity. But these are the same people that are perfectly fine, and not only that, oftentimes encourage people to be obese. These are the same people that are perfectly fine with drug addicts, and people who are alcoholics, right? They think that the person who knowingly does things that are incredibly unhealthy to their body, and because of that are going to cost the system way more than they're ever going to pay in taxes. It's perfectly fine that they get free healthcare, but it's not fine for someone who's perfectly healthy, and the chances of them, causing more, taking out more than they put in, being incredibly low. They shouldn't get their health care paid for, right? It's absolutely insane. Like, it's absolutely insane. And this is the reason why, that these people are just incredibly disingenuous. And the reason behind their worldview when it comes to healthcare, it's entirely politically driven. Again, the reason why they always come up with, oh, you don't care about the poor and all this garbage, it's just to cover the reality. It's that the reality behind the reason why they want is entirely a political thing, right? These are people that on average are they're more unhealthy, and they want to force other people to pay for it, right? They want to force other people to pay for it. So in essence, they want to be able to steal money from other people. They want to be able to steal from other people. And if they can reframe it as caring about the poor, well, of course they're going to do that. Because again, like, just imagine if the bank robber could reframe robbing banks as, oh, we got to care about the poor, right? We got to care about the poor. Um, Another thing I wanted to point out too is this first comment that's really insane, but I wanted to bring it up too because this is something you hear. And they say one really huge difference when you're conveniently ignoring the fat, smoking, drunk is only damaging their own health, not infecting other people with their actions. The people ignoring all the what restrictions are spreading the virus to others. Now, there's several things wrong with that comment. Number one, again, in Canada and in the UK, we have and even in the States, a lot of their healthcare is government paid for as well. Um, you're taking money out of other people's pockets. So again, you're not just hurting yourself. That's a complete lie that you're just hurting yourself. Even if it was, let's just assume that there was no government paid for healthcare at all, which doesn't exist. I don't think there's a country on earth, at least a major one, that actually has a system like that, even though a lot of complete idiots think that that's how the States works. It's completely false. Let's just say again, we have a system to where it's a completely free market system. There's no government, there's no subsidized healthcare at all, right? But that comment would still be completely wrong because again, if you're an alcoholic, if you're a smoker, if you are obese, well, number one, if you're a smoker, there's secondhand smoke, right? Number one, there's secondhand smoke. So you're not just, even if you smoke alone, there's still other people that are going to be at some point breathing that in, right? Um, and number two, let's just say you have kids, right? If you have kids and you're an alcoholic, that's a terrible, terrible environment for a kid to be growing up in. If you are obese, that is also a terrible example you're setting for kids, right? So this idea that, oh, you're only hurting yourself, no, that's a complete lie. You're not only hurting yourself. You're not only are you hurting not only are you taking money from other people for no reason, you are hurting other people. So again, this Bernard Carey here is a complete idiot, right? Complete idiot. For people that make that argument, it's stupid. And again, Zuby did respond to him saying he already addressed it, which I don't know exactly what he said or meant, but um, I assume it's similar to what I brought up. But again, this is something that I really just cannot stand. Like, just cannot stand this stuff that people actually make this argument, and this is just another sign that the average person is borderline insane. Because again, to make this argument, usually I would say you clearly have never once left your echo chamber, right? Like, these people that make this argument clearly live in echo chambers, and clearly have never spent 5 minutes their entire life um, considering that there may be opposing points of view, right? They've clearly never done it. And how do I know that? Well, how I know that would be if they did, they would have heard the arguments that I brought up, right? They would have heard the arguments I brought up because they would have heard it because it's one of the first things they would have figured out, right? So again, in a nutshell, this is a very good point, and this is the other last thing I wanted to bring up too that I kind of forgot to. Is this idea of collective responsibility too? Like this is another one of the many ways that these people have such glaring cognitive dissonance. That on one hand, we got to have collective responsibility when it comes to this virus situation, right? We got a collective responsibility. We have to hold other people responsible for other people, basically. But we don't have collective responsibility when it comes to a lot of other things that are arguably more important. Like I say, with this stuff, right? If we have collective responsibility, why are we still condoning smoking and drinking and people being obese? Why are we still condoning, child abuse, which is something that a lot of people say that, oh, we don't condone, but the vast majority of people are perfectly fine with children being, spanked and hit. They're perfectly fine with that. Um, the vast majority of people are perfectly fine with single motherhood, even though that's one of the leading causes for, ending up in jail, living in poverty, becoming a drug addict. So again, this idea that these people care about this stuff, it's complete bunk. The reason why I believe, because again, the reason they claim their reason is we want to save lives. That can be the reason because they don't care about saving lives when it comes to things that kill a lot more people than the virus. So their worldview, it can't be saving lives. So clearly it's a cover for a more real reason. And the real reason I believe is number one, a lot of these people are just incredibly susceptible to propaganda. They will believe whatever the news tells them. And what is the news telling them, and what is the goal of the people at the top? The goal of the people at the top is a bigger government. The goal is socialism, right? And I think a lot of these people, again, either they're so susceptible to propaganda they just blindly go along with it, or two, they recognize that the push is socialism, right? The push is socialism. So um, the reason why that they're doing that is to push for socialism. But again, if they said, we got to lock down endlessly so we can get more socialism, well, that would sound pretty bad on their part. So they got to pretend that it's about saving lives and all this garbage, right? So I think that's why they do it. I think that's why they do it because, again, their real reason, or the reason they claim, sorry, the reason they claim is, oh, we got to save lives, but they're not worried about saving lives, right? They're only worried about saving lives when it comes to the, what, maybe, 50 to 100 people that died just of the virus in Alberta, but they're not worried about the far greater amount of people that committed suicide and overdosed, right? They don't care about those people. They don't care about the far greater amount of people that die in car accidents. They don't care about the far greater amount of people that die of cancer and heart disease and stroke and all these things. So that's kind of my thoughts on this whole issue. Again, I think it's a very good point by Zuby here. This idea that this is their reason, that's a legitimate thing to bring up is absolutely insane. So anyway, that's what I wanted to bring up today. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. If you haven't already, make sure you check out those links. Follow me in those other platforms. Again, YouTube, Twitter, cracking down pretty heavily lately, so make sure you check me out on those other platforms. If you want to donate, you can do that as well. But again, at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe, and check me out on those other platforms.